Because no matter what anybody says about yourself, at the end of the day, it's how you look at yourself in the inside and outside that matters. Welcome to episode 4, part 2 of what I learned from my internship and how you can kind of win at yours. We left off on part 4, lessons about the workplace. And so now we're going to continue on to kind of part 5 of navigating your challenges. So I'm just going to dive in straight to this episode because we've been talking about, for the last 30 minutes from part 1. Thanks for coming on this journey with me, and I hope these are valuable insights for you. I think it's just kind of nice to hear about other people's, things, and it's not only my experiences. I know most of it is my experiences that I'm talking about, but I think I try to filter in a little bit of other people's and people that I've heard about, and I hope that's helpful for you as you're navigating your career, because that's kind of what this podcast is all about. So let's get straight into it. Navigating challenges. So I think this one's a big one. I personally didn't really experience this. I've experienced challenges. That's not what I meant. But I think the main challenges I'm talking about is not getting along with people. And I think this is a really real, raw thing that happens, because honestly, at the end of the day, you're not going to get along with every single person that you meet. It happens. Personalities clash, people clash with each other, and it's okay. It's human to not work together all the time. But I think, how can we do this in a professional way that is somehow synergistic? Because you do want to have a good working relationship. You might not be best friends, but in order to have a conducive work environment, you do need to get along. I've heard from interns that don't get along with their mentors, but I've also heard from other people that I've talked with not getting along with everybody in their office. And it's totally fair. But how can you kind of learn from that? What is it about you guys that aren't aligning? Is it the values? Is it how fast you're going? Because I think speed is a big thing. Some people learn at a slower pace and other people learn at a faster pace. Some people do work at the last minute, whereas other people do work throughout in a structured time, and it might not seem to the other person that they're doing the work, even if they are doing it. I think kind of the important thing is to stay professional and not gossip or chit-chat about it. Obviously, you can tell your friends about it and your family and whatever. I mean, that's what we're here for. That's what your peers are here for. I'm always here if you want to kind of just get something off of your chest. I think it's really important to listen to people. But when you're in a workforce, I do think it's also really important to stay professional, because word gets around. People know what you're talking about. Believe it or not, people are more observant than you actually give them credit for. If I said something like, I don't like this person, that will get around and people will know about it. It's inevitable. And that doesn't really look good. That kind of makes you look like you're looking kind of for conflict and things like that. And so I think it's really important to first stay professional about whatever you're not getting along with. And then I think also lean on other people, because maybe there's other people in your office that you do get along with. How can you kind of use them, be curious about how they get along with other people, and use that to their advantage? How are they navigating working with the person that you're not really getting along? Is it the way they communicate? Is it the way they kind of give them space and then approach them? Because then you can use those tips and go from there. And if you do feel comfortable, maybe just ask, hey, you handled that conversation really well. I was wondering kind of what you did. Or just notice it, be observant, and kind of learn from that. So I think that's really important. And also, just if you do get along with other people, then talk to them more, try to work with them more, because at the end of the day, you are in charge of your working relationships. Nobody can make you feel a certain way. You can only let somebody else's opinions and perspectives of you get into you and hinder what you need to, but they're not doing that. They're projecting that onto you. You are still in control of how you take that in. And I think that's really important, because if somebody's belittling you or if somebody's being mean to you, don't take it personally. Think about, oh, they're saying that to me, but maybe they're projecting that onto you. Maybe they've had a really bad day. And yes, it's unfair for them to do that, but also it's not you. You know who you are. You need to be so secure in yourself and know what it is that you're capable of, know your worth, And that will get you so far, because no matter what anybody says about yourself, at the end of the day, it's how you look at yourself in the inside and outside that matters. So that's important. And I guess that leads to the next point about not taking it too personally and knowing your worth. I think the other one is prove your capability and be consistent and know your quality of work. Because if you show that you are capable and that you can do the hard stuff, you can do the work that they give you, you can actually go above and beyond the work that they give you, that shows commitment. And even if you don't get along with the relationship, it just shows that you're a hard worker. And no matter what the circumstances are in your environment, that you can do it. You are capable and you are great. I hope this all makes sense to you. And then I guess another one is also documenting your work and your success. Throughout my internship, I actually had a running report of what I did every single week. And I think that's really important, not only for you to just see what you've done throughout the internship, because let me tell you, it is so easy to forget. Always bring a journal with you everywhere you go, every single meeting, no matter where it is, no matter how little you think it is, just bring the journal and jot whatever you can down. Because I think, one, it looks better when you're journaling rather than looking on a screen. I think sometimes with a screen, it looks like you're dissociating, or, maybe you're not listening to actually what they're doing. Whereas with a journal, I feel like it's pretty clear that you're taking notes on what they're saying, because it's another level of accountability and traceability of what you've done. So if they said that, oh, you didn't do that, you can be like, oh, actually, I did that at, whatever date it was, and I can pull it up for you here. And it shows that you're not kind of disorganized as well. And also when those mid-evaluations or whatever evaluations come up, you can be like, hey, this is what I've done so far this summer, and I'm pretty proud of it. Can you please let me, know what your feedback is and bring it back up? Maybe it was something that you're really proud of, like a presentation, or maybe you spoke at a meeting and you got feedback on your thoughts, or you felt proud that you were able to bring something to the table, which I know is always scary, especially when you're starting out. Sometimes you just feel like you have no idea what you're saying in these big meetings, and then, that's a huge accomplishment. And so just documenting your process. And then also, if it gets really overbearing with this relationship that's kind of conflicting, maybe go talk to HR or somebody on your team that, if it's not your mentor, if it is your mentor that you're conflicting with, obviously, go to someone else. But if it isn't, then go to your mentor and kind of ask how to deal with it. And it's still a professional way. I think that's really important. Don't kind of say, like, they were mean to me, they, shouted at me, whatever it was. Kind of be like, hey, I just wanted to bring to your attention that, I feel like I've been doing, X, Y, and Z, and I feel like sometimes this person doesn't recognize it, or I don't really know how to communicate with them. Could you give me any pointers or help me navigate the situation? And then if you really want to, I think HR is another place to do it, but I also think it's important to document it as well, just, to show a little proof of what you've been going through too. And I think this is really fitting for also work and businesses when you are a full-time employee, because at the end of the day, and I say this so much at the end of the day, but it's so true, is that you deserve to be treated with respect. And if it's not respectful, that is something to bring up. And that is a way of advocating for yourself. And believe me, I know it's really challenging. I have a really hard time with conflict. I'm very avoidant with it. I don't like to confront people. It's one of my greatest fears that I'm, still working on. And we could also, maybe I need to reflect on that a little bit more before I talk about it, to be quite frank. But it's something that is hard, and I get. And it comes with, I think, another people-pleasing thing, which I have a great book for anybody that's a people-pleaser. It's called The Disease to Please. Please read it. We will definitely do an episode on people-pleasing, because that is a huge topic, but that book literally changed my life. So read that book. Anyways, see, I get on so many rants because I'm just so passionate about whatever I'm talking about in the moment. But anyways, and then I think the last thing I wanted to touch upon is don't over apologize. I think what happens when you kind of are navigating these challenges and relationships, which are inevitable in not just the workforce, but also friendships and relationships and whatever, is to first reflect on, is it something that you might be doing, or is it actually a conflicting thing in the relationship. And what I mean in this is that are you the problem, but kind of are you the problem? Like, think about it. Are you doing the work? Is what the person's saying valid or not? So let's say maybe the member was like, hey, I don't know why you haven't been going to more coffee chats, or I don't know why you are late all the time. You know, those things maybe be on you. Are you showing up at the time that you're supposed to come in? Are you doing the assigned work in the allocated time too? I think those are things that you can change, and those are the things that you can do. Now, if it's kind of like you show up at 9, you're supposed to get at the office at 9 a.m. and they're asking why you're late, you can be kind of like, oh, I am getting in at 9 a.m. Did you want me to come earlier? I thought, 9 a.m. was the agreed upon time, or things like that. But if it's kind of more of conflict of being mean, as in passive aggressiveness and things like that, or kind of that power dynamic, which we can go into a whole thing with like the Stanford prison experiment, when people are given that power, like manager roles or, a warden, whatever it is, and then they think that they have all this control and power over you, and they use it to kind of an evil level of being just super rude and disrespectful to you. That is a whole different thing, and that needs to be treated in a, again, professional way, but it does need to be treated, because you should not feel that way. No matter if you are an intern, I think everybody should be treated with love and respect. I think it's the bottom line. And maybe if they're not, maybe that's just telling something about the company culture. If they're not treating their members with respect, do you want to be working there? And so that's another learning experience too. And also seeing how HR deals with these problems is also very telling. So you never know. I think that's really important. So I guess if you face tension, frame it as an opportunity to either step up and reflect, or, advocate for yourself. And always, go to a trusted colleague or HR, but stay professional. Don't let it go into like this gossipy topic, because I don't think that's fruitful or conducive to anybody in the workforce, or even in relationships in general. Now we're going to be moving into part 6. That was a juicy one. I'm glad we left that for part 2, because I think I just ranted about that for maybe 15 minutes. So let's go into part 6, and this is asking for what you need. With my internship, I was really lucky that I had weekly touch bases, which we call TBs, which I'm sure a lot of people have as well. And this was really helpful because I got to understand what the agenda was for each week and what the expectations were. And it also asked for time for me to ask for feedback or advocate for what I wanted to do. If I was really interested in looking into the consumer, I could ask for that in this meeting. Or if I wanted feedback on maybe a presentation, that I could ask for that too. And so if you don't have these weekly TBs, and I know maybe your company is organized in a different way and weekly is a lot, but definitely kind of having a regular touch base with your mentor, I think, is really important, especially in an internship. Just kind of understanding what expectations are and how you can meet those, or just a little progress check in general. And then in those meetings, maybe ask, what's the priority this week? What can I improve on? What strengths stood out to you that I have? With this, I think it's also really important to have these evaluations with your mentor or manager. If you don't have one, maybe ask for one for them to see how you're doing and if you're doing a good job. And maybe it's an opportunity for them to ask for what they need, but also it's an opportunity for you to learn and reflect on how you're going and how your progress is. And so for those questions, I would definitely ask kind of, what are my strengths? What do you think I'm doing really well on? And then vice versa, what do you think I can improve on? Do you think there's something that I'm not doing up to par on the level that needs to be? And how can I grow, and how can I do that for you more? And that shows that you're proactive. It shows that you're willing to grow and learn. And that shows a lot of maturity, I think, in the workforce. And I think it's really desirable. I definitely have gotten a lot of advice from my mother. So some of this is hers as well, which I really want to do an episode with her on. I think it'll be really interesting. She is probably one of my biggest mentors to look up to, and just how she's navigated her career. But yeah, she's always told me to be willing to learn and grow, and that really shows that you are stepping up and that you're engaged. And then another thing that you can ask is, I think especially at the end of the evaluation, just kind of ask Is there anything more that I could have done in this internship to make me a more ideal candidate? That goes along with the improving, but it also shows that you know that you've done things, but it's also just being curious about what more could I do? Because if you are hired, you could bring that into the next step of this path, or you could bring it into the next company that you work on as well. And then another really important one, which I think people should ask at their end, and I don't know if everybody does, but I was really curious about it, is why was I chosen? What qualities do I have aligned with the company? Was it something that I did specific that put me over the top of other applicants that I can utilize in future jobs, future skills that I can develop on? And so I know one of mine was going kind of above and beyond. I'm a little bit of a not overachiever. I don't want to say that. I don't think I'm an overachiever, but I definitely do probably more than I need to do. And that can come up with some faults too, but one of the things that I did is that they were asking for trends, and I made a little mood board or presentation or Pinterest board to talk about it. I also emailed within the 1 to 2 hours of when they responded. I think that's just good email status. Also, I was low-key desperate, so that's another thing. But I was dealing with the time zone, but I think it's really important to email quickly back. It shows that you're responsive. It shows that you will be emailing to emails in a timely manner. And I especially think, at least for my internship, it was really important to respond pretty quickly to things. So that was just also in line with the company culture. Obviously, if it's a cultural difference where, don't email outside of hours too, like that's a thing because work-life balance. But try to respond in a timely manner and also do more than what they ask for, especially in interviews and things like that, because it just shows that you're different, you are motivated, and you are really passionate about what they're doing. And who doesn't want somebody that's passionate and willing to go above and beyond for the company, especially in an interview? So kind of knowing that, I think is important, because then you can utilize that in different interviews that you'll have. So yeah, and then part 7 is about networking with intention. And so I know I've talked a lot about networking, but I really, really firmly believe that coffee chats are gold. They say that coffee is literally the gold of the business. It makes the most money because it's highly overpriced. And really coffee chat again with anyone, even senior leaders, and prepare those thoughtful questions. I think I already gave you a little bit, but I'll just go over them quickly again. Like if you were just starting out, or if you're in my shoes, what advice would you give to me? What are the biggest challenges? How did you overcome them? I think it's always so interesting to learn about how people overcame what they were going through and navigating, because I assure you, at some point in your career or journey, you're gonna go through these same challenges, and now at least you have some tools that other people did. It might not be the same situation, it might not be fixed with the same tools that they use, but at least gives you a little bit of insight into what the problem was, what problems could arise, and how you can kind of navigate them. So you're not kind of like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Because I know I was in a situation where it was just, I was really confused about a topic, or I didn't really know how to work with other people. I'm somebody, and I've definitely grown a lot over time, but where it was scary to work with other people because I felt like I just couldn't depend on them, so I would take on the work all on my own. But then I would hold a lot of, not resentment, but I just felt like I was in this all alone, and it didn't feel good, especially when we're supposed to be collaborating. And it's so important to collaborate because people can bring so many different perspectives. And so I guess I asked a lot of people how to deal with that. And I think it's really to trust your teammates. And that was something that I needed to work on, is that trust that they will get their work done. And if they don't, hold them accountable for that. Don't just do it for them, because they're never going to learn if you do that. So hold them accountable for them. Having a plan helps get you to that next step of intention to actionable steps. And so I think that's really important to kind of learn. And that was one of the difficulties that I had to do. And then also I think is really important is how to advocate for yourself. How did you move up positions, especially if it's a senior member? I think that just gives you a little bit of insight on how a future career trajectory works at this company. So, do most people go from associate to manager in 1 to 2 years? How did you do that? And then another one is, why did you choose this role? I think that's goes again into episode 2 when we talked about passions, of just why are they passionate about this, and does that align with what you like. I think sometimes we can search on Google about these different roles, but we really don't know what it is in a real sense until we either do it ourselves, well, especially if we do it ourselves, but also by hearing from other people's experiences and kind of living through their shoes, I think is really cool to see. And it just gives you more insight to actually what that role is. And obviously every single company, a role that could be the same, like a director, manager, merchandiser, marketing, whatever. It could be the same title, but it could be so different in the company culture. And so I think that's really important to just see and learn about. So definitely coffee chat. And if you're shy, build it up. Maybe start with people that you're more comfortable with. Maybe just start talking with other interns, being like, how did you get here? Like, what was your process? I mean, that's interesting too. And then definitely coffee chat with your mentor or manager. That's the first step. And then, try to branch out from there. And definitely ask your mentor if they can connect you with whoever that they see fit too. Be like, hey, I'm curious about this team. Might you be able to let me know of somebody who's there that I could just, coffee chat with? And more than not, they'll definitely be open to do that. So definitely coffee chat. That's my ramble on that. And then I just wanted to bring something all together. I think I touched on this really briefly, but sometimes we think that our weaknesses can be detrimental, but actually, more than not, weaknesses are our strength. And this has come to my attention in a lot of areas that I have thought that maybe I thought were weaknesses and that they're actually my biggest strengths, because those things give you a unique lens. They give you something to differentiate yourself from other candidates. And we're all different. We all have so many different facets of ourselves that are different from every single person. No one person is the same. Even if you're an identical twin, there is something different about you. I kid you not. And so just reframe that. Reframe that weaknesses can be strengths. Being unique is a strength. And so this was really prevalent in one of my friends, and I don't think she'll be mad at me for sharing this story. I'll definitely ask, but I'm pretty sure it's good. She was saying that how she kind of went into accounting and finance, and she thought that she changed her major mid-on to marketing, and she thought that she had kind of wasted those, formal years of doing accounting. But actually, it didn't, because she had the skills of knowing Excel. She had the skills of knowing how to financially build a company. She knew what it took to be financially strong. She knew, how to read the balance statement. She knew how to do the cash flow. She knew about investing. And it actually gave her a different lens into marketing, because everybody needs a financial lens. You have to sometimes think about marketing through finance. You don't have an unlimited budget at the end of the day. You have a fixed budget that you need to do to get your message across. And that can be important to planning it out. Also, content calendar, same with finance. You have to kind of plan out your expenses. Those skills can help. That organizational skill can help with planning out that content calendar. So you never know what things can be added. So when you take a look at your resume, and this is what my advice is, look at your resume and see how you can tailor that to the role that you're applying for. You don't have to change your experiences, just tailor the things that you learned from them and how that can fit into the role. And that can bring something unique. And I guess another thing that it was maybe unique about me is that I am an international person. I grew up in Singapore. I am from American, but I also go to university in London. And so I've had really a huge privilege of being able to experience so many cultures. And that does give me a leg up. And I know that we all travel nowadays, but I think I can bring some of the things that I've learned with just living in various cultures is how important it is to learn about the culture, respect the culture, and integrate it into your life when you're there, and even not. And I think it's just really broadened my perspective. I really like to think I'm not judgmental, and so that's why I'm always open to hearing your perspectives and your questions and queries, or things that you think you want to go further on, or something maybe you disagree with me on. I'd love to hear that. I'm so open for it, because I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong. I'm willing to say when I'm wrong. Now, that also doesn't come easy, but I will say when I'm wrong. Maybe just not with my sister. But that's a sibling dynamic, let's be honest. No, me and my sister are close. We're great. Yeah. So to cut this ramble short, just remember that your uniqueness is a strength and don't shy away from it. To recap all of this, I just want to say that to be successful in an internship, there really is no one way to do it. But I think it's really important to be curious, proactive, and open to growing, because that's what it's there for. Every internship has a chance to learn from the job and also yourself, not only just the hard skills, but the soft skills. And how can you kind of reflect on that and grow from it as well? How can you take that back into university? Which I also want to do another episode about on kind of leaving the workforce and going back into university. I think it can be a little bit disheartening. I know I'm kind of feeling that just because I just feel like going back to university sometimes feels a little bit like a step back. And I want to reflect on that, on why it feels like that. So the main takeaways is setting intentions is important because it helps to clarify what we want and why we want it. And then also, when we have a clear purpose and direction, we are more likely to make the choices in alignment with our values and our priorities. And this gives you a sense of agency and control, and also a little bit of accountability to adjust. I just really wanted to leave it with just to be open, and I really hope you guys enjoyed these 2 parts of my internship experience, and I hope you learned something, and hopefully maybe you can take it into your next internship. I know internship season is kind of ending. I would really encourage all of you to kind of reflect on your internship, either talking to somebody or writing it down and things like that, and just give yourself a beat to also really be proud of yourself that you did this. No matter how long your internship was, you took the courage to take a step into your career and learn from it. Learn from what you liked, learn from what you didn't like. No bad experiences. You can always learn from it. What didn't you like about it? Why don't you like that? And now you know you don't want to go into that. I've heard from countless of people that they've done internships that they've hated, and now they know. Now they don't have to waste their time to do that as a full-time job and be committed to something. So there's no bad experiences, no regrets in life, only learning opportunities. And thank you so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed it and took something away from that, and I'm excited to get into another episode. Thanks so much for sticking with me. I really appreciate it, and I really hope this is a learning opportunity and we're growing together in this. I'll see you guys for episode 5. Thanks so much for listening to Her Career, Her Way.